Building Educational Resilience for the Future. Welcome. In this video, we will explore how education systems can build resilience, adapt to climate change, and prepare schools for multiple hazards between 2026 and 2030. This presentation highlights global challenges, key frameworks, and practical solutions for safer, stronger learning environments. Global context: the scale of the challenge. The global scale of climate-related challenges is staggering. In 2024 alone, 242 million students experienced school disruptions due to climate-related events. 1 billion children, that's half of the world's children, live in climate-vulnerable contexts. And on average, students in low-income countries lose 18 school days annually compared to only 2.4 days in high-income countries. The result? Widening inequalities and disrupted learning. Key challenges for educational resilience. Schools face three major challenges. First, infrastructure vulnerability. Many school buildings are old and not designed for today's climate hazards. Second, educational disruption. Frequent closures cause learning loss and increase dropout rates. Third, equity concerns. Vulnerable communities are disproportionately affected, making resilience not just a technical issue, but a matter of justice. Key frameworks for school resilience. 3 global frameworks guide how schools can become safer and more resilient to disasters and climate risks. The first is the Comprehensive School Safety Framework, or CSSF, a unified all hazards, all risks approach endorsed by over 70 countries for 2022 to 2030. It's built around 3 pillars. Pillar 1, safe learning facilities, ensuring school buildings are designed, constructed, and maintained to withstand hazards. Pillar 2, school disaster management, building preparedness, response, and recovery plans to keep learning continuous. And Pillar 3, risk reduction and resilience education, integrating disaster risk reduction directly into the curriculum and teacher training. The second framework is the all hazards approach to school safety, which prepares schools for every type of emergency under one plan: natural events like floods and wildfires, technological hazards such as power outages or chemical spills, and human-caused crises including violence or health emergencies. Implementation focuses on risk assessment, planning, training, and evaluation. Finally, the Global Program for Safer Schools, led by the World Bank, supports 35 countries across 6 regions. Through the Roadmap for Safer and Resilient Schools and the Global Library of School Infrastructure, this program benefits more than 121 million students in over 500,000 schools worldwide. Together, these frameworks provide the foundation for building safer, smarter, and more resilient education systems. Climate-resilient infrastructure. Let's look at what climate-resilient school infrastructure means in practice. This image shows A.E. Kent Middle School in California, where solar panels have been installed to ensure reliable energy and sustainability. Such schools are designed not only to withstand disasters but also to serve as resilience hubs for their communities. The benefits are clear: enhanced safety during disasters, reduced environmental impact, long-term cost savings, and stronger community resilience. Building truly resilient schools requires 4 key elements. First, renewable energy systems like solar panels and microgrids that keep schools running during power outages. Second, water management solutions: rainwater harvesting, flood control, and drought-resistant landscaping. Third, green infrastructure, such as green roofs, shade trees, and permeable surfaces that lower heat and improve the environment. And finally, structural reinforcement, including seismic retrofitting, wind-resistant designs, and raised foundations in flood-prone zones. The implementation process begins with assessing existing infrastructure, prioritizing high-risk areas, and integrating resilience into maintenance and upgrades. Phased implementation plans, running from 2026 to 2030, ensure clear milestones and, most importantly, community engagement in every step of design and planning. In short, resilient infrastructure doesn't just protect students, it protects the future of learning itself. Ensuring educational continuity. Education doesn't stop when schools close if we plan for continuity. This photo shows students engaged in hybrid learning, combining technology with outdoor spaces, a reminder that learning can adapt to any environment when systems are prepared. Educational continuity planning brings several key benefits. It minimizes learning loss during disruptions, reduces dropout rates among vulnerable children, provides psychosocial support during crises, and helps maintain a vital connection between teachers and students. To achieve this, schools can apply four main strategies. First, multimodal learning approaches combining digital tools with radio, television, and printed materials so every child can continue learning regardless of internet access. As EdTech Hub research confirms, using accessible, existing technologies is the most effective approach in crisis contexts. Second, teacher preparedness training educators in emergency pedagogy, psychosocial support, and flexible teaching methods so they can adapt quickly to changing conditions. Third, community learning hubs creating safe spaces within communities where learning can continue during school closures. These hubs require minimal infrastructure but provide maximum impact for children's well-being and education. And finally, offline-first digital resources developing materials that work without constant internet, allowing students to download lessons when possible and study offline. Together, these strategies ensure that even when classrooms close, learning never stops. Global Case Studies School Resilience in Action. Let's explore how different countries are putting school resilience into action around the world. In Mozambique, more than 600 classrooms have been retrofitted to climate-resilient standards, with 3,000 more planned by 2025. Schools were prioritized based on a vulnerability assessment of 5,000 facilities in cyclone-prone areas. As a result, these schools withstood Category 3 cyclones with minimal damage, a strong proof of resilience. In Vanuatu, 40 schools were reconstructed to higher structural safety standards, benefiting nearly 5,000 students and teachers. Despite severe tropical cyclones in 2023, these schools remained fully operational, demonstrating how safer designs protect learning continuity. In Los Angeles, a $9 billion bond was used to modernize school buildings, add green spaces, and replace outdated HVAC systems. Climate action plans were even integrated into teacher contracts, helping the district streamline disaster response and institutionalize resilience. And in Turkey, 62 schools with over 1,600 classrooms were built to be earthquake-resistant. During the devastating 2023 earthquakes, these schools reported no structural damage, ensuring that education continued uninterrupted. Across all these examples, three key success factors stand out. First, integrating climate resilience into national education planning. Second, building partnerships among government, private sector, and communities. And third, combining structural and non-structural measures to create long-term, sustainable safety for learners. These global stories prove that when education systems invest in resilience, they protect not only infrastructure but the future of every child's learning. Technology integration for resilience. Technology is now at the heart of educational resilience. It helps schools anticipate risks, respond faster, and continue learning no matter the disruption. Let's start with the four key areas of technology integration. First, early warning systems. These include mobile alerts and school-based monitoring tools that help communities respond rapidly to climate hazards. Second, distance learning, both low-tech and high-tech solutions that ensure students can keep learning during school closures. This includes radio, online platforms, and hybrid learning setups. Third, AI risk assessment, using predictive analytics to identify the most vulnerable schools and prioritize interventions before disasters happen. And fourth, VR and AR training, immersive technologies that allow students and staff to experience simulated emergencies safely, building confidence and preparedness. As shown in the adoption timeline for 2026 to 2030, the use of these technologies is expected to rise sharply, with distance learning and early warning systems leading the way. To make these tools effective, there are three key considerations. 1. Energy independence, ensuring technology remains operational even during power outages through renewable energy backup. 2. Accessibility, designing inclusive solutions that reach all learners, including children with disabilities. And 3. Capacity building, equipping teachers and school staff with the skills to use these tools effectively. Together, these innovations make education systems smarter, safer, and more adaptable to the changing climate. Implementation Framework 2026 to 2030. To turn school resilience into reality, a clear and phased framework will guide implementation between 2026 and 2030. The process begins with Phase 1, Assessment and Planning in 2026. This phase focuses on identifying risks through vulnerability assessments of school infrastructure and systems, while strengthening stakeholder engagement and coordination at both national and local levels. Next, Phase 2, Capacity Building in 2027. Here, we focus on developing training programs for educators, administrators, and community members alongside creating practical resources, toolkits, and guidelines that support resilience in everyday teaching and management. Then, Phase 3, Implementation, spanning 2028 to 2029. This is where plans turn into action, schools undergo prioritized retrofitting and infrastructure upgrades, and new technologies such as early warning systems and digital learning tools are introduced to maintain educational continuity. Finally, Phase 4, Monitoring and Scaling in 2030. At this stage, progress is evaluated, lessons learned are documented, and successful models are scaled up across more schools and communities. The graph on the right shows steady progress across all stages from assessments and resilience plans to infrastructure upgrades reaching near universal coverage by 2030. 4 key factors will drive this success. Cross-sector collaboration between education, climate, and infrastructure agencies. Sustainable financing, combining public, private, and international support. Community ownership, ensuring local engagement and accountability. And a data-driven approach, using evidence to guide continuous improvement. Together, these phases form a strong roadmap turning vision into measurable action for safer, more resilient schools by 2030. Strategic recommendations. To build truly resilient education systems, we must move from ideas to action through integrated planning, smart investment, and strong policy development. Let's start with integrated planning. Resilience must be built into every education sector plan. That means developing multi-hazard school safety strategies at both national and local levels, and ensuring continuous coordination between the education, disaster management, and climate sectors. When these systems work together, schools become safer and communities stronger. Next, investment priorities. We need to increase funding for climate-resilient infrastructure and teacher capacity building for emergency response. At the same time, investment in research and innovation, particularly in educational technologies, is essential to keep learning going even during disruptions. And third, policy development. Governments play a vital role by mandating climate risk assessments for schools, setting minimum safety and resilience standards, and creating incentives for climate-smart design and operations. Policies like these ensure that resilience is not optional, it's required. On the right, the investment impact analysis shows why proactive investment pays off. Compared to reactive approaches, proactive planning significantly improves student safety, maintains learning continuity, and provides long-term cost savings, all while strengthening community and infrastructure resilience. Finally, the implementation timeline from 2026 to 2030 outlines a practical roadmap starting with assessment and planning, followed by pilot projects, large-scale expansion, and finally, evaluation and learning. Together, these 3 pillars, planning, investment, and policy, form the foundation for resilient education systems capable of withstanding future challenges. Building a resilient future for education. Education is not just about learning, it's about creating safe spaces where learning can continue even in the face of climate change and other hazards. As the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction in the Education Sector reminds us, true resilience means that no child's education should stop because of crisis. There are 3 key takeaways for the future of school resilience. First, resilience is multidimensional. It's not only about strengthening infrastructure, but also ensuring learning continuity and deep community engagement. Second, equity must be central because the most vulnerable communities face the greatest risks, and they must be prioritized in every plan, every budget, and every policy. And third, innovation drives solutions from emerging technologies to new learning models. Innovation allows us to protect education even in the most resource-constrained environments. Looking ahead, the path forward is clear. By implementing comprehensive resilience strategies from 2026 to 2030, we can ensure that education systems across the world are strong enough to withstand climate impacts and crises. The time to act is now, because every investment in school resilience is an investment in our children's future, in their right to learn safely, and in the sustainability of our communities. Together, we can build a resilient future for education, one where learning never stops, no matter what challenges come our way.